The hall was drenched in gold and crimson, the colors of tradition and pride. The drummers' hands blurred over their skins, pumping beats that made the ground feel alive. Guests swayed, clapped, and laughed over the aroma of roasted goat meat and palm wine. Yet, in the midst of all the celebration, Chaik's smile felt like a mask glued too tight. His bride, Amarachi, was radiant in a shimmering George wrapper, coral beads clinking softly with each step. Her laughter was like a bell, warm, full, and confident. Everyone saw her as the perfect wife. But deep inside, Chaik's thoughts clawed at him like a restless cat. Did I make a mistake? Just weeks before, his friends had teased him endlessly. Guy, why an Igbo girl? You know how they love money. Others whispered warnings disguised as jokes. No, you go buy her first car before she even says thank you. He had laughed them off then. But now, standing at the altar as the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, those words gnawed at him, planting tiny seeds of doubt in the fertile soil of his mind. When Amarachi reached for his hand, he held it, but it felt heavy. Chaik didn't know that the decision he made today would become his greatest burden, and later, the very reason for his unimaginable wealth. The first 6 months of their marriage were a roller coaster of smiles and stings. Amarachi was affectionate, supportive, and respectful, but she also had an unshakable boldness that clashed with Chaik's quiet, calculated personality. One Friday night, as they prepared for a family gathering, Amarachi insisted, "Chaik, we can't go there driving that old Toyota. My people will think you're suffering." Chaik frowned. "It's not about what they think, it's about our reality. I'm saving for my business." She clicked her tongue, tying her gelly tighter. "Your business won't hug you at night." The words stung. But what really lodged deep in his mind was the flash of disappointment in her eyes. That night, at the family gathering, Amarachi's cousins made light jokes about Chaik's modest life. He laughed with them, but each chuckle was like swallowing bitter cola. Months passed, and the pressure grew. Amarachi began pointing out other men who were doing better for their wives. Seen Ngozi's husband? He just opened a supermarket for her. And you're still talking about savings. Chaik felt cornered, his pride bending under the weight of comparison. He worked longer hours at his accounting firm, but his pay barely moved. One night, he overheard Amarachi on the phone to a friend. "Marriage is sweet, oh, but only when your man knows how to provide like a real man." That night, Chaik lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if marrying Amarachi had been a mistake after all. The breaking point came during a friend's wedding. Amarachi spotted an ex-boyfriend across the hall. Tall, well-dressed, exuding wealth. She leaned to Chaik's ear and whispered, "You see that man? That could have been me living large now." The words were ice to his veins. He kept smiling for the guests, but inside, something cracked. On their way home, the silence in the car was thick. Chaik didn't speak, and Amarachi didn't apologize. That night, he slept on the couch. From then on, Amarachi's attitude shifted. She became colder, more impatient. The warmth she once had seemed rationed out only when things went her way. When Chaik tried to talk about his business dreams, she waved him off. Dreams don't pay bills. It wasn't just the words, it was the way she said them, like he was a child playing pretend. One evening, after another tense argument about money, Chaik stepped outside to clear his head. On the street, he met an old friend, Obinna, who had become a wealthy importer. Obinna slapped him on the back and said, "You're still here doing 9 to 5? Come, let me show you something that will change your life." They met the next day. Obinna introduced him to importation. Small electronics from China sold for massive profits locally. It was risky, but Chaik saw something in Obinna's numbers that stirred him. He decided to try. But with what money? Chaik sold his only car, the same Toyota Amarachi mocked. When he told her, she exploded. "You sold our car for some gamble? You want to make me trek?" "It's not a gamble," he said calmly. "It's an investment." But she didn't believe him. For weeks, Amarachi barely spoke to him. While Amarachi sulked, Chaik worked like a man possessed. He learned everything about the business, spoke to suppliers, and made his first shipment. When the goods arrived, he sold them in under 2 weeks, tripling his investment. Still, Amarachi's response was lukewarm. "Let's see if you can do it again." Chaik reinvested everything. Bigger shipment. Bigger risk. This time, a port delay almost destroyed him. For 3 sleepless weeks, Amarachi mocked him openly. "I told you. You should have listened to me." Then, the shipment cleared. He sold everything in record time, and made enough to buy 2 new cars. Money began to pour in. Chaik upgraded their home, bought Amarachi a luxury car, and even hired help around the house. Neighbors and friends began whispering, "Chaik has made it." But instead of softening, Amarachi grew more controlling, demanding, and entitled. At a high-profile business dinner, Amarachi openly told guests, "If not for me, Chaik would still be driving that old Toyota." Chaik forced a smile, but inside, the humiliation burned hotter than ever. That night, Chaik sat alone in his study. He realized something. All the doubt, all the pressure, all the comparison. It had pushed him to become the man he was now. Without Amarachi's constant push and pain, he might never have taken the leap. And that made him see her differently. Over the next months, Chaik grew his empire beyond importation. He began making silent investments in real estate and tech startups. His wealth skyrocketed. And for the first time, Amarachi looked at him with respect, even awe. One rainy night, Amarachi broke down in tears. "I judged you too soon, Chaik. I thought you were too small to dream big. I was wrong." Chaik didn't gloat. He simply held her and said, "You gave me a reason to prove myself." Years later, as Chaik signed a Billionaire deal, reporters asked, "What motivated you?" He smiled, glancing at Amarachi standing proudly beside him. "They said marrying her was a mistake. But she became my greatest blessing." And in that moment, Chaik knew. Sometimes, the very person who doubts you can be the one who unknowingly pushes you toward destiny.